हरि ओम। ओम श्री गणेशाय नमः। ओम श्री हिरण्यगर्भाय नमः। ओम श्री महाविष्णवे नमः। ओम श्री महादेवाय नमः। ओम श्री महादुर्गायै नमः। ओम श्री राम रामाय नमः। ओम श्री सद्गुरवे नमः। ओम समस्त जन कल्याणे निरतं करुणामयम् नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरं शङ्करं शङ्कराचार्यं केशवं बादरायणं सूत्रभाष्यकृतौ वन्दे भगवन्तौ पुनः पुनः। श्रुतिस्मृतिपुराणानामालयं करुणालयं नमामि भगवत्पादः शङ्करं लोकशङ्करम्। सदाशिवसमारम्भां शङ्कराचार्यमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम्। ईश्वरो गुरुरात्मेति मूर्तिभेदविभागिने व्योमवद्व्याप्तदेहाय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। शङ्करं परमानन्दं ब्रह्मनिष्ठं यतीश्वरम् भाष्यभ्रान्तिहरं वन्दे शुद्धज्ञानैकबोधकम्। ओम नमः शिवाय। 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 नमः पार्वती पतये। हर हर महादेव। हरि ओम हरि ओम। We'll begin with the Shanti mantra. ओम वाङ्मे मनसि प्रतिष्ठिता मनो मे वाचे प्रतिष्ठितम् आविराविर्मयेधि वेदस्य माणि स्तः श्रुतं मे मा प्रहासीः अनेनाधीतेन होरात्रान् सन्दधामि ऋतं वदिष्यामि सत्यं वदिष्यामि तन्मामवतु तद्वक्तारमवतु अवतु माम् अवतु वक्तारम्। ओम शांति शांति शांतिः। हरि ओम। We are studying this beautiful Aitareya Upanishad, which is from Rig Veda. There are 3 chapters. The first chapter has got 3 sections. We have studied the first chapter. So today we will briefly summarize what we have studied. and thereafter we will begin the second chapter. So it begins, this Upanishad begins with a very beautiful Shanti mantra. Om Vangme Manasi Pratishtita, which talks about integrating our actions and our mind. And also it talks about putting forth effort to study the Upanishads and a prayer to protect us and protect the teacher. The main theme of this Upanishad, as well as all other Upanishad, is Atma Vidya or Atma Ekatva Vidya, knowledge of the oneness of Atma, that there is only Atma and Atma alone. And when we realize this Atma, then we become free of all our sufferings and gain eternal happiness. To become free of all our sufferings and to gain eternal happiness is the result of gaining self-knowledge. All other sadhanas like karma, upasana are to prepare the mind to become fit to gain this self-knowledge. So how this self-knowledge is revealed in the Shastras, how we can realize our own self. What is the nature of that Atma? The nature of Atma is Brahma. Atma is experienced as I, and the real nature of that I is Brahma. But due to ignorance, we don't recognize ourselves as Brahma. We identify with the body, the mind, and consider them as Atma. And whatever the characteristics of this body mind are understood falsely as my own characteristics. So we have to remove all false notions and recognize Atma as Brahma. But Brahma is another word. How can we know Brahma? Brahma is indicated in the Shastra as the cause of this world. Janmatyasya yataha. Brahma is that from whom the world is born. World is sustained in Brahma, and the world gets dissolved in Brahma. World is the entire universe. So, Brahma is recognized with the help of this world. The characteristics or the Swarupa of Brahma is Satyam Jnanam Anantam. And the world which is seen is Asatyam Jadam Parichinnam. Asatyam is constantly changing. Jadam means inert, Parichinnam means limited, but Brahma is Satyam Jnanam Anantam. So Brahma is recognized by negating the characteristics of the world, which is said in the Upanishad as the technique of neti neti. See, for example, if I want to know gold, I don't know what is gold. So I approach my friend and ask him, please tell me what is gold. He shows me his ring and says, this is gold. Then I am not very clear about what he has conveyed. So I go meet my other friend and ask him, what is gold? So he shows me a kada, a bangle, and says, this is gold. Then I approach a lady and ask her, what is gold? She shows me her earrings, her nose ring, and says, this is gold. So when I contemplate on what all of them have said, I get confused. That all that I saw in the name of gold are different shapes, different forms. But then, with deeper contemplation, I understood that when I shift my attention from all the forms and all the names, then the essence of all these ornaments is gold. Similarly, when the question is asked to the Shastra, what is Brahma? It points out to this world and says everything is Brahma, Sarvam Kalvidam Brahma. And it also points out that Brahma is Satyam Jnanam Anantam. But I don't understand, these are just words. I don't understand Satyam Jnanam Anantam. But I understand the world. So when I look at the world, it is asatyam, constantly changing. And in this changing world itself, Brahma is present. So I remove this notion of change from my buddhi. All the thoughts of change are removed while observing the world, while thinking about the world, while thinking about the swarup of the world. Then what remains is satyam. When I negate jadam, inert, then what remains is jnanam. And when I negate parichinnam, limitedness, what remains is anantam. So through the world, the nature of Brahma is understood by our buddhi. And when we shift our attention to ourselves, we understand ourselves as I am. I am is understood, is experienced. And through the world, we also understand Satyam Jnanam Anantam. And the Shastra says that you are Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. So what I am experiencing as I am I have to understand that I am is Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. I am Brahma. So for this, it is very important to understand the world. Through the world only we can comprehend Brahma and we can comprehend our own self. Those who consider this world as mithya, they have missed the point. They don't know the technique of the Shastras. Because mithya means asat, mithya means which doesn't exist. So if you negate the world as non-existent, then there will not be anything to make us understand that Brahma. If I throw away all the ornaments as non-existent, as mithya, then I will not be able to understand gold. Gold can be understood only through ornaments. Similarly, Brahma can be understood only through the world. Because this world is an expression of that Brahma alone. This world is an expression of that Brahma, which is Atma. Therefore, this Upanishad begins with this beautiful statement that this world was Atma alone. So the question is, what about now? He says now also it is Atma alone, but Atma plus names and forms. Though we say plus, but names and forms are also not different from Atma. But in order to recognize the Swarup of that Atma, we have to shift our attention from the names and forms. So, this Upanishad begins by saying that Atma alone was there, and from that Atma, this world came into existence, into manifestation. So, Atma is the Upadan Karan as well as Nimitta Karan of this world. Upadan Karan is the material which remains all the time with its effect. For example, gold is the Upadan Karan of ornaments. So, gold is always present wherever the ornaments are there. You cannot have ornaments without gold, but we can have gold without ornaments. Similarly, we cannot have world without Brahma, but Brahma is also Brahma exists without world. So that Brahma or the Atma from itself, from himself, manifested this world. So Atma is not only the Upadan Karan of this world, but also the Nimitta Karan. Nimitta means like a pot maker. If there is a pot, then clay is the Karan, Upadan Karan of this pot, but the pot maker is the Nimitta Karan, because the pot maker converts the clay into this pot. So who is the Nimitta Karan of this world? Atma itself is the Nimitta Karan. Therefore it is said Atma thought, means it is sentient. It is of the nature of Jnanam. So from that Atma alone, the worlds came into existence, the various lokas and the various lokapalas. So from that Atma alone, the various Lokapalas means the various Devatas were born. And thereafter, the Devatas were also endowed with what we call hunger and thirst. These Devatas are also Jivas. So, in order to give them a place of residence, Bhagwan also created various forms like the cows, the horses, etc., and human beings. So, human beings are the perfect forms. And the Devatas, they entered this human form and occupied their respective places. Then Ishvara created Anna, food for all. And finally, he himself entered this world, means entered all beings. So, the world, which is names and forms, Ishvara is present in this name and form as Swarupa. Plus, I, the Jiva, who is experiencing the world, Ishvara is present in me as my own self. That is what is indicated here as Ishvara entered. So, having entered this form, he lives identified with these forms, considering himself as a limited being, considering himself as the Karta, Bhokta, Jnata. And the samsara continues. But by Ishvara's kripa only, when one gets the opportunity of satsang, once antakarana becomes pure, we follow the path of dharma, and thereafter we meet our teacher and gain that self-knowledge through Shravana, through Mananam, and then we do Nididhyasan and gain abidance in the self. We recognize our own self as Brahma. So, etam eva purusham Brahma tatamam apashyat. One sees one's own self as that all-pervading Brahma. So, thus, this first chapter of this Upanishad concludes with this story of this creation, and then finally the self-realization. Now begins the second chapter. Now, what is the purpose of the second chapter? Because in the first chapter, everything is conveyed. The second chapter is meant to create that vairagya in our antakarana towards the various pleasures of this world and the other world. That will prepare us for self-knowledge. Because even after knowing about it, we don't walk this path because of our attachments, because of our desires, because of our habits. We continue in this samsara. So we should gain that vairagya and pursue this path of self-knowledge. Therefore, this second chapter begins here. But before we go to the mantras, Shankaracharya ji has written a most beautiful introduction to this second chapter, which we will read and understand. So let us read Adi Shankaracharya ji's Bhashya. introducing this second chapter of Aitareya Upanishad. He says, Asmin chaturthe adhyaye esha vakyartha jagat utpatti sthiti pralaya krat asamsari sarvajna sarvashaktihi sarvavit sarvamidam jagat swato anyat vastu antaram अनुपादाय एव आकाशादिक्रमेण सृष्ट्वा स्वात्म प्रबोधनार्थं सर्वाणि च प्राणादिमच्छरीराणि स्वयं प्रविवेश. Shankaracharya says that in this chapter, in the first chapter which we have seen, which is the fourth chapter of this Aitareya section. So the first three chapters talked about karma kanda and upasana, and this fourth chapter, which is the first chapter of this Upanishad, it started the topic of Atma Vidya or Brahma Vidya. So here in this chapter which we have seen, Shankaracharya writes कि जगत उत्पत्ति स्थिति प्रलय कृत, the one who is the creator, sustainer and dissolver of this world, that is that Atma or Brahma, who is the one who creates the world, sustains the world and dissolves the world, who is the very Karan of this world. And who is he? Asamsari, himself is free from samsara. That Atma, along with his Shakti, is also called Ishvara. That Ishvara, who is the creator of this world, is free from samsara. Why he is free from samsara? Because he is Sarvajna. He is Nitya Shuddha Buddha Mukta Swarupaha. So he is asamsari sarvajna, he is all knowing. Sarvashaktihi, all powerful. Sarvavit, knower of everything. Sarvam idam jagat swataha anyat vastu antaram anupadaya. He created this world out of himself without taking help of any other material. Without taking help of any other material, through a sequence, like first the Akash was created, then Vayu, Agni, Jal, Prithvi and all. There is a sequence. So Akashadi Kramena Shristva. And what is the purpose of this creation? Swatma Prabodhanartham. Ultimately, to recognize himself. See, Ishvara alone is present as all the jivas. And through this world, the jivas get an opportunity to recognize themselves as Ishvara. It is like a mirror. When we approach a mirror, if we want to see ourselves, if we want to know ourselves how I look, then I approach a mirror and look into the mirror and I can see my face. Suppose before looking at my face, somebody tells me that, oh, you have something on your face. there is some black spots and something on your face. So I keep moving in this world with that notion that I have some some spots on my face, that I have an ugly face. I keep moving in this world with the notion that I have an ugly face. I become sad, I become depressed. But then I meet a wise person who sees me unhappy and he says, "Why don't you look into the mirror? Why assume what others are telling you? What you are considering yourself as an ugly person is a false belief, false notion. So why don't you look into the mirror?" So I go in search of a mirror. And when I find a mirror, I look and I am very amazed to see a handsome face. All my sadness go away. If this example is understood, all of us, we have this wrong notion that I am a limited being. I am born and I will die. I am the doer, knower, and enjoyer of actions. I am a miserable person. Then the wise, compassionate teacher comes in our life and he says, "Why don't you look into the mirror? Look at yourself and you will see yourself as you are." And with the guidance of the teacher who takes the support of this world, the world is like a mirror. It shows me my own face. And once I see my face, all my misunderstanding goes away and I gain that supreme happiness. So Ishvara created this mirror, this world, in order to recognize himself. Swatma prabodhanartham shrushtva. He created this world for Swatma prabodhanartham. See, there are people who have misunderstood Vedanta. They say this world is a product of ignorance. Just like we see a rope or we see a snake on a rope due to ignorance, similarly, due to ignorance, this world is created, is appearing. And who is ignorant? They say that Ishvara himself is ignorant. Because he is the creator of this world, so out of ignorance he created. So all these are wrong understanding of Vedanta. Here it is said, Ishvara, in order to recognize himself, means in order to bless all the jivas with self-knowledge, created this world. So the world not only gives bhoga to all the jivas, but also gives an opportunity for moksha, for liberation. So Swatma prabodhanartham sarvani cha pranadimat sharirani swayam pravivesha. So Ishvara entered the bodies of all these beings and he is present as the jiva. So the jiva, all the jivas, they get an opportunity to fulfill their desires and gain some pleasures in this world But when they gain a human body, they get an opportunity to gain moksha. So, in order to help us to gain moksha, we have to recognize ourselves. And in order to recognize ourselves, and who are we? We are Brahma. And in order to understand Brahma, we have to understand through the world, because Brahma is the cause of the world. So by negating all the characteristics of the effect, we can understand the cause, because the cause is always present in the effect. That which is present in the effect is called the cause. If that cause is not present in the effect, then that is not the cause. Brahma is the cause of this world because Brahma is present in this world. As the upadan of this world, as the swarup of this world. So pravishya cha swatmanam yatha bhutam idam brahmasmi iti sakshat pratyabudhyata. So having entered this world and all these beings, Ishvara alone finally recognizes himself as I am Brahma. So when a jiva recognizes himself as Brahma, it is Ishvara alone who has recognized himself as Brahma. Yeah? So Pravishya, entering this body, Swatmanam, his own self, Yatha Bhutam Idam Brahmasmi iti, Sakshat Pratyabudhyata. He recognizes himself as Brahma, Aham Brahmasmi. तस्मात् स एव सर्व शरीरेषु एक एव आत्मा न अन्य इति. Therefore, this Ishvara or this Brahma alone is one Atma in all the bodies. There is only one Atma in all the bodies, and there is only one Atma in the entire universe. Everything is that one Atma. Not only the body is Atma, but the one who is present in this body as a Jiva is also Atma. So tasmat sa eva sarva sharireshu eka eva Atma na anya iti. He alone is one Atma, no one else. And this is said in the Upanishad, other Upanishad also. Anyopi sama atma brahmasmi iti evam vidyat. That one has to recognize this Atma as Brahma, present equally everywhere. Atma va idam eka eva agra asit. Even in this Upanishad it is said Atma alone was there. Everything was Atma alone, and now also everything is Atma alone. Brahma tatatam. Brahma alone is pervading everything. If Brahma is pervading everything, then that Atma is Brahma only. If the clay pervades this pot, then the pot is clay only. Similarly, Brahma pervades this world and pervades all the beings, then all beings are Brahma alone. Iti cha uktam anyatra cha. In this way, it is mentioned here as well as in other Upanishads. Now, an opponent, Purva Pakshi, he asked a question, a very interesting question. He says, कि सर्वगतस्य सर्वात्मनो बालाग्रमात्रमपि अप्रविष्टं नास्ति इति कथं सीमानं विदार्य प्रापद्यत इति लिखेव शुशिरम्. An opponent, he asked this question to Shankaracharya ji. Shankaracharya ji himself raises this question in his Bhashya. You are saying, not you are saying, but this Upanishad is saying that Atma, after creating this world, Atma as Ishvara, when he created this world, he himself entered this world by creating an opening on top of the head. He entered the being. But this seems very illogical. Why it is illogical? He says Atma is sarvagata, he is all pervading. So sarvagatasya sarvatmana, who is the self of all, is all pervading. There is nothing in this world which is devoid of Atma. Then what is the story that he created the world and entered the world? Just like an ant entering a hole. It seems very illogical. If Ishvara is all pervading, then what is the idea behind telling that he created the world and then he entered the world? It seems very illogical. So Shankaracharya replies, he says, you have asked this question, but there are similar, more questions are there which you should have asked. You have asked only one question, but so many things seems totally illogical. Shankaracharya himself raises these other issues. He says, Nanu iti alpamidam chodyam bahuchatra chodayitavyam, that what you have asked is very little, much more has to be asked, much more needs to be asked. Then he gives a list of what can be asked. He says what is said here, akaranaha san ikshata. In the beginning itself it was said that Atma thought. Atma alone was there. Atma alone was there and it thought. So without any mind, without any intellect, because nothing was created, how can it think? Akaranam sam ikshata, without any instrument, he thought. This is illogical. Then he says, anupadaya kinchit. Lokan ashrujata. Then without any material, he created the worlds. No material was there and he just created the world. This is also another illogical thing, another irrational, another thing which cannot be understood or cannot be accepted as true. Then, adhyap purusham samudritya amurchayat. Then he said that from this created material itself, he brought out a form and gave it a shape, and that Virat Purush was born. This also seems very like just a story for little children. Untenable. Then tasya abhidhyanat mukhadi nirbhinnam mukhadibhyascha. Agnyadayo Lokapalaha. Then it is said that from that form, the mouth got open, and from that mouth, Agni was born, Agni Devata was born, and through various other openings, the different Devatas were born. This also seems very, very untenable, unscientific. If this is told in a scientific background to science students and all, they will say, what is this? All these stories and all. Doesn't make any sense. Then he says, कि तेषां च अशनाया पिपासादि संयोजनम, and they were endowed with hunger and thirst. All the devatas who were created got endowed with hunger and thirst. And tad ayatana prarthanam, then they requested a body for themselves. Then tadartham gavadi pradarshanam, then Ishvara brought in front of them the form of a cow, then a form of a horse, and finally he brought the form of a human being, human figure. And tesham yathavat ayatanam praveshanam, then they entered their respective places in this body. Shrustasya annasya, then he created food for them. And they started chasing the food, first with their speech, and with their ears, with their eyes. Shrustasya annasya palayanam. The food was running ahead and they started chasing with their speech, etc. Tad jigruksha, in order to eat it. Etat sarvam Sima Vidarana Pravesham Samam Eva. All these other things which are said, they are as difficult to comprehend or seems as untenable as Ishvara entering the body through the opening in the top of the head. So the opponent had asked only one question, that if Ishvara is all pervading, then what is the meaning that he created the world, he created all the bodies and he entered? But here Shankaracharya raises more questions. And he says all this also seems very, very illogical and untenable. So when the opponent heard this, he said, Astu tarhi sarvam eva idam anupannam. Then let us assume, let us accept that all this is just untenable, illogical, irrational, that it doesn't make any sense, that the scriptures are not conveying anything properly. It's all nonsense. Then Bhagavan says, no, that is not the way to understand. There is a meaning behind all this story. There is a meaning behind this thing being communicated in this way. Shankaracharya writes further, कि न अत्र आत्मावबोधमात्रस्य विवक्षितत्वात् सर्वो अयम् अर्थवाद iti adoshaha. He says that the main purpose of this Upanishad is to give you the knowledge of Atma. And the story and the way it is dramatized is only a method of conveying this knowledge. It's a method of conveying this knowledge. Technically, it is called Arthavad. Arthavad means through a story, through some example, through an imaginary imagery, the idea is conveyed. Just like even in the field of science, when they talk about atoms and even the structure of atom itself is so very small that, and the structure of atom is so very minute. But in order to convey, they talk about the nucleus and they talk about the electrons moving around the nucleus in different orbitals. So they say that electrons are like a tiny particle with negative charge and it moves. So generally the diagram is shown that in the center is the nucleus and the electrons are moving. But really speaking, it is just a diagram because actually where exactly is that electron and how it moves and all is not understood. But in order to convey the message, this diagram is being used to convey. So by looking at the diagram, also by understanding the movement of the planets around the sun, etc., we get a rough idea about the nature of this atom. We get a rough idea about the nature of the atom. Similarly, the main thing what the Upanishad wants to convey is that all this world, this Jagat universe has come from that Atma alone and is sustained in the Atma and again dissolves in the Atma. And Atma is present in the universe and Atma is present as all the beings. And in order to convey this message, this with this help of a type of a story, the whole thing is conveyed. So this is called Arthavad. So Shankaracharya says that there is no defect. It is Arthavad to convey Atma avabodham atrasya vivakshitatva, to give the knowledge of Atma. He says that Mayavi Vadva, or you can understand this whole story, understand that Ishvara, that Atma, as a great Mayavi, as a great magician, who through his power of magic create this world. So Mayavi Vadva, Mahamayavi, Deva, Sarvajnaha, Sarvashakti, Sarvam Etat Chakara. So like a great magician, Ishvara created this world, which is a fact. The world has come from Ishvara or the world has come from that Brahma is a fact. But the power of that Ishvara is such that to understand the exact details of this creation is not possible. But that is also not required because the main purpose of this description of creation is to know that Atma alone is everything and Atma alone is my own inner self. So Sukhavabodha Pratipatyartham. So the whole thing is given in order to make us understand in an easy way. Sukha avabodhana. Easily we can comprehend. Because lokavad akhyayika adi prapancha iti yuktatara iti yuktatara pakshaha. So the whole akhyayika, whole story which is said that Ishvara thought and then he created the loka and then the mouth opened and the various devtas were born and they were given the ayatanam and the food was created and the food started running and they started chasing. It's like a story, but the main idea is to give the knowledge of Atma in a easy form. So Sukhava Bodhana Pratipratyartham Lokavad Akhyayika Adi Prapancha iti Yuktatara Pakshaha. Just like in the world also, if we want to convey some very subtle message, we make use of some props, some support. Even our Pujya Gurudev, Swami Chinmayananda Maharaj, used to use that, what we call the BMI chart, in order to reveal the knowledge of that Brahma. Even in schools and colleges, the various supports are used to give the knowledge of the subject. Some models are created, some story is being formed in order to convey the message. Because conveying the message is the main thing. Shankaracharya writes कि नहीं सृष्ट्याख्यादिकादि परिज्ञाना किंचित फलम इष्यते. He said just by the knowledge of the creation of this world, nothing useful can be gained. It's very important. He said just by knowing the creation of this world, नहीं सृष्ट्याख्यायिकादि परिज्ञानात् किंचित फलम इष्यते. Just knowing the details of the creation of this world, no result can be gained, no useful result can be gained. But through this story of the creation, if we understand that everything is Brahma and my own self is Brahma, then the purpose is served. See, even in the field of science, they're trying to understand this world, they come up with various theories and all. It serves no purpose. It is just a meaningless exercise. See, from the world, we can understand the nature of Brahma. But from Brahma, how this world came into existence is a very, very subtle thing, which even the Vedas, they don't talk about it, because it is not understandable and it is not required. From that Nirgun Nirakar Brahma, who is free from all activities, free from all modifications, how this world came into existence, it is not even mentioned in the Vedas. Ko Adha Veda, Vedas say, who knows? The Devatas don't know. But from the world, we can understand Brahma. The main purpose is to understand Brahma. The purpose is not to understand how Brahma created this world, but to understand the nature of Brahma through the world. So, ekatmya swarupa parijnanattu amrutatvam phalam sarvopanishad prasiddham. Therefore, in all the Vedas, in all the Upanishad, the main theme is to understand ekatma parijna, to gain the knowledge that only one Atma is there. Atma, one Atma alone is there, and that Atma am I. This world is also Atma, all the beings are Atma. Everything, Ishvara is Atma, Brahma is Atma. So Smritishu Gitatyasyu Samam Sarveshu Bhuteshu Tishtantam Parameshwaram. Even in Gita it is said that one Ishvara alone is present in this entire creation, equally everywhere. Hari Vyapak Sarvatra Samana. Then again the opponent asks one question, that a very interesting question and a very interesting answer that we will see in our class on Wednesday. So till then you take care, be happy, stay peaceful, healthy, do your work, do your sadhana, listen to the pravachan again, contemplate and try to understand what is conveyed. And see you on Wednesday. Hari Om. Shri Ram Jaya Ram Jaya Jaya Ram. 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 Jaya Jaya Ram. Jaya Jaya Ram. Bole Siya Ramchandra Bhagwan ki Jai. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.